Black Ops 7 is depressing, not a bad game, just properly miserable, because playing it feels like watching the slow, painful fade of a franchise that once set the gold standard for high-octane war drama. When you see that Black Ops logo, the stamp painted look, the military stencil vibe, that cold hard boots on the ground energy, you expect grit, you expect tension, you expect a game that smells like gunpowder and regret. So why am I suddenly fighting a bloke the size of Big Ben, or dodging machetes that could take down a helicopter? Why am I leaping around like a caffeinated grasshopper? Why am I waiting around for action to happen? This isn't tactical, this isn't war, and it sure as bollocks ain't Call of Duty. So put the kettle on, grab a cuppa, and let's figure out what on earth Black Ops 7 is trying to be. I honestly don't know where to kick things off, because the footage on screen does a better job than I ever could at explaining this circus. But let's give the game a fair go before I start swinging the bat. The truth is, the mechanics here don't instantly make Black Ops 7 a disaster. Plenty of games lean into the mad, over-the-top power fantasy stuff, and some of them are great fun. If you're just after a loud, messy playground where you can shoot robots, swap monsters, and fling around levels with grappling hooks like a toddler in a ball pit, well, you will for sure have a proper grin on your face playing this one. But here's the problem, this isn't some random sci-fi romp, it's wearing the Call of Duty badge, and once that logo appears, people will queue up to boot the franchise in the nuts. So Activision have got to earn their spot and not give that group the ammunition it wants to kick you down, and sadly that's exactly what has happened here. Shooting doesn't feel all that great, missions feel like they were scribbled on a napkin in a pub bog, and the irony is that the whole thing plays closer to Halo Infinite than anything with Black Ops on the box, just without the polish, the weight or the elegance that makes Halo's chaos feel a little bit more intentional. So you get this weird middle ground where nothing is awful, nothing is brilliant, and nothing sticks in your memory. It's like the game's giving you toys you've already grown out of, fun for 5 minutes, then you're wondering why everything feels a bit limp. And yes, that's what she said. And that strange middle ground kicks in straight away with the whole 4-player online co-op campaign bollocks. I still don't know why they went this route, because nothing in the mission design actually needs 4 people. It's just 4 players sprinting around like headless twats, all doing their own thing while pretending it's teamwork. And once you bolt everything to a always online structure, the cracks, they start widening. There's no mid-mission saves, no dropping in and out of a level, just a big digital fuck you and a reminder that you must stay connected at all times. Then there are the cutscenes, still presented as if this is a traditional single-player Call of Duty. So if you are that one person in the squad who wants to watch the story, you'll be sat there pissing off the rest of the world while everyone else is hammering the skip button and groaning at you. You hit milestones in a mission, for example, like a locked door or an elevator, and the game refuses to move on until everyone else catches up. So you're also stood there, tapping your foot, waiting for Dave, who is clearly lost in this digital map and arguing with his wife because he hasn't taken the bin out yet. Now, I can't slate Black Ops 7 too hard for these things alone, because plenty of co-op shooters do the same. But when you pile it all together, the waiting, the matchmaking, the false cutscenes, the reruns, the whole vibe stops feeling like Call of Duty. Then comes the maps, which are also uninspired as they come, big enough that you can poke around the corners but nowhere near open or ambitious enough to feel like a Destiny or Halo Infinite sandbox. They've got that vibe of an oversized multiplayer arena, larger than the zombies map, sure, but never enough space to actually stretch your legs. And the world itself, drab as anything. Nothing pops, nothing excites, no big set piece moments, no dramatic vistas, none of that holy hell theatre Call of Duty used to throw at you every 5 minutes. It's all very beige. Case in point, the vehicles, completely indestructible. You can unload half your armoury into some battered old European truck from the 70s and it will shrug it off like it's made of alien alloy. It's the safest place in the whole bloody game. And the cover that you can hide behind doesn't break, it doesn't splinter, it doesn't force you to move or panic, and you quickly realise why. The enemy design is boilerplate wank. Everything feels built to funnel you into predictable shootouts rather than test your skill. It's just another reminder then that Black Ops 7 is stuck in this bland middle lane, not wild enough to be truly fun, not grounded enough to feel like Call of Duty, and nowhere near polished enough to carry the weight of the brand. A perfect example of how ropey the mission design is comes down to how easy it is for one teammate to soak up all the aggro. They can plant themselves behind some invincible wooden crate and just sit there eating bullets all day, and that leaves you free to trot around the side and pick enemies off like you're clearing out a party. Now, defenders of this system, and probably the developers themselves, will call this smart flanking tactics, but it isn't. It's just stupid AI. In any real battle, you protect your flanks like your life depended on it, because, well, your life does depend on it. Here, enemies leave the sides wide open, like they're desperate for you all to slide into their DMs and ruin their evening. And the way they charge you in sheer numbers rather than skills is laughable. You'll see commandos sprinting at you with a knife like they're late for a stabbing appointment. Sure, I get it. Every game has a melee guy, but would you actually sprint at an armed soldier while they're unloading rounds at your chest? This isn't World War I trench warfare madness, lads. It just feels completely out of place in a franchise that once sold the theatre of war better than anyone else. And I think for me, it's the shock of seeing this in this main Call of Duty campaign that has left me wondering how the design team got this so wrong. It's just sponge fest enemies with no brains who are happy to be target practice. And with that, we need to go back to the nonsense for a second, because it all funnels straight out the story, which is about as inspired as a wet wank tissue. Look, games can do hallucination stuff well. Batman had Scarecrow, GTA 5 went full psychedelic for a laugh. Those moments work because they're sharp, they're memorable, and they don't take over the entire bloody game like a lingering fart. But here, it's absolutely shambolic. The whole plot revolves around some terrorist lad who unleashes a gas that sends the world sideways, and suddenly you're knee deep in monsters, giant spiders, robots, and boss fights that feel like they escaped from a rejected Doom mod. One minute you're fighting man-eating plants, the next you're dodging disappearing snipers or machetes come flying at you like you've pissed off God himself. Don't look at the Black Ops name and expect espionage, tension, or that Cold War paranoia the series built itself on. This is full-on franchise vandalism, and in some ways it's genuinely unforgivable. It feels like the dev team must have been so young that they don't understand what Call of Duty was. They don't get why it became a titan. The sound, the spectacle, the Hollywood pacing, the sense that every mission had weight. Yes, the series has slipped over the years. We've seen more silliness bleed in, but this is the madness cranked up to 11. I felt like I developed Parkinson's playing this, as I was constantly shaking my head in disbelief. I thought the early previews were just clickbait exaggerations, but no, it really is that bad. Visually, the beige feeling creeps back in straight away. It's not bad, far from it, but nothing here ever sticks in your mind. Character models look solid, guns have proper heft to them, and there's some lovely detail in the metalwork, grooves, scratches, speckled paint, and even that faint smoke drifting off the barrel after a few shots. Aimed down sights, you get that nice depth of field pool, and the texture work on walls, stone, moss, metal is genuinely impressive enough to make each environment feel believable. Vegetation looks decent too, and when the lighting cuts through the trees mixing with smoke grenades, the same scene starts to carry some real depth to it. Technically, there is plenty to admire here, but also it's all very static. Everything is rock solid because the cover system demands it. Vegetation doesn't move or react. Grenades don't blast anything apart. The world isn't a playground, it's a painted backdrop pretending to be one. And that reload animation, Jesus Christ, it is nausea in a button. Try walking and hitting reload at the same time and enjoy the migraine, lads. It whips the camera around like you stepped onto a boat in a storm. So yeah, everything looks fine, everything works, everything is serviceable, but nothing here ever wows. Not once did I get that Call of Duty bloody hell moment, which in fairness I have had in every single previous iteration up to this point. It is basically the grey jumper your nan gave you for Christmas. Nice enough, but no one's excited to wear it, and sound design sits in that same middle lane. Nothing awful, nothing stand out. Some guns do crack nicely, but most of the mix feels strangely light, like someone forgot to plug in the subwoofer. There's chaos in your ears, sure, but it's all treble and no bass, compared to Battlefield 6 where bullets felt like they're tearing the air apart. Black Ops 7 sounds polite. I want my headphones to rattle when a rocket hits. I want to feel the shove of a big caliber round. Here you get a few nice thuds as bullets enter flesh, but never that satisfying thwack that makes you grin when something truly pops off. Then there's the soundtrack, which I'm convinced was knocked together on a lunch break. It doesn't sound curated, produced or recorded by anyone who's ever seen an orchestra play. It's generic background filler, the kind of music you'd expect from a mobile tower defense game, not a premier Call of Duty campaign. And once you mix that with the cheesy voice lines and the painfully acted script, the whole audio package just collapses into meh. Nothing rousing, nothing emotional, nothing that makes a firefight feel big or dramatic. Black Ops used to be the series that rattled your bones. Here, you'll be lucky if it even ruffles your t-shirt. So what we're left with is a Call of Duty game that honestly doesn't feel like Call of Duty at all. And before any diehard fans start throwing digital tomatoes at me, no, this isn't coming from a Battlefield fanboy. I gave that campaign a 2 out of 10 because it was held together with duct tape. Black Ops 7 then isn't broken, it runs. You'll even have a few good moments with your mates and the odd mission might raise a smile, but those tiny sparks are buried under a mountain of mundane mechanics and abysmal story and gameplay choices so ridiculous they feel like a dare. And it finally hit me. The Call of Duty badge doesn't mean anything anymore. It's become a label you can slap on anything and hope people buy it out of habit. The Black Ops name in particular, for me, it's finished. This franchise either needs to go back to its roots, the night vision, stealth, the tension, the atmosphere, the missions that made your palms sweat, or it just needs to be put to bed. But it doesn't need to be this carnivore nonsense that we've been handed here. You just cannot work out what the devs were thinking. Black Ops 7 then is an absolute embarrassment to the genre, an embarrassment to the Call of Duty name, and honestly, it's an embarrassment to the millions of loyal fans who stuck with this series through thick and thin. The only redeeming quality I could say about this entry is the one where you actually finally turn it off. Until next time, my lovelies, love to you all. Reggie out.